Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man Battle Network Operate Star Force. In the last part we started off the power plant scenario, and now we're gonna go finish this off. Barely by the end of it, but it's more for reasons we'll get over later. Now the further we get into this place, we're of course gonna run into new viruses, so let's go over this first. Now we have the Fanner 1s. We ran into the second variant of these things last time. 100 HP, 80 damage, they still just fire their tornado a few spaces ahead of them, in which case it tracks onto you, going, I think, 3 to 5 spaces before it fades, or if it hits you. And if you beat them, they can drop the Typhoon chip. I didn't talk about the Hurricane chip that its cousin could drop, but the Typhoon Hurricane chip line is surprisingly potent. By the way, Fanner 1s can only drop Typhoon and G, B, and A codes, I think. It doesn't look too powerful on the tin. It only says it does 30 damage, but what it does is that I believe either the space in front of Mega Man or 2 away from him, it generates a tornado that as the chip increases in strength as the variants go, it gains 2 extra hits per. So it starts with 3, then it does 5, then it does 8 hits of 30 damage. If you can get the enemy to stay still in the middle of that, that's a pretty powerful individual chip by the time you get to the 3rd variant. With that said, that's pretty far in, and I forget exactly how it interacts with Navi boss fights. With that said, now we have the second of the Mr. Program type enemies. 200 HP, 100 damage, they'll drop the Ring Zap 2 chip upon defeat. Assuming that you get a rank 5 or above. It's more powerful, and you can get Asterisk code again, as well as C code, which is pretty good, but again, they're not exactly chips to my fancy. What doesn't really help is that by this point in the game, there's maybe only 1 or 2 Aqua Elemental viruses we haven't seen yet, and only 1 Aqua Elemental boss we haven't fought yet, and we'll be getting to that in relatively short space from memory. So there's just not as much use to electric-type chips in this game compared to other games in the series. Hell, in Battle Network 2 Beyond, there's a lot more use for them just due to how the extra mechanics work in Battle Network 2 Beyond. Now we're starting to get to the point, though, where the power plant computer is going to start getting a lot more complicated because they're starting to have a lot more boxes for you to put the batteries into. And what that's going to lead to is a lot more trial and error. Again, thankfully, this area is a lot easier in Operate Star Force because they made the platform semi-visible. And, well, to be frank, the non-regenerating HP is such a non-problem in Battle Network 1, it doesn't really matter. So they basically made this area only have 1 major mechanic. But it's still a bunch of trial and error that, for this series, feels very alien, I guess is the way I want to phrase it. Like, I think of later games in the series, and areas that are trial and error, and there's a couple of them, don't get me wrong, but usually it's more so a puzzle you have to figure out, or some timing thing. Like, let me think. BN2 has a trial and error area. BN3 does as well, but that's just because of the energy charge mechanic that I can't stand in 3. BN4 Red Sun might, sort of, I forget. Blue Moon, I think, does with its different scenarios. Does 5 outside of maybe post-game with how the viruses work in that game? Not really. 6 can if you didn't pay attention, I guess. Network transmission doesn't count. But yeah, this Power Plant 3 Beyond, especially is where you can tell that them just making the pathways visible every couple of seconds really helps this area. Because the paths start to go all over the place in such a manner that they also have redundant dead ends. So it just becomes a giant pain in the ass to find your way around. Also, hey look, Twisties! We ran into those things in like part 3 or 4, but now I actually beat it and got its battle chip. Again, I could have grinded for every single chip I could get the moment it's first available to me. But to me, I'd rather just save that for a mass grind in the post-game, which is by and large what I do. Now, also aiding this area not being as annoying in Operate Star Force is that in general, the encounter rate for the DS version was decreased. I want to say it was roughly double what it is here, if something around there. which in some ways made getting battleships easier, yeah, but it also made getting through the game a lot more of a slog. Speaking of encounters, we got another new virus here, the third and final variant of the Mr. Programs. 250 HP, 100 damage will drop the Ring Zap 3 if you get a rank 5 or above. And you actually want to get a lower rank for this thing, because you can get a B code from it, and that's, again, as I've stated before, pretty good. B code's a real good one in this game. Alright, they can also area grab. I forgot about that. And yeah, look, they do damage themselves when they hurt themselves. How cool. And hey, the battleship, nice. Admittedly, something I think a modern release, re-release, or remake of these kind of games could really do with is a proper bestiary, where whenever you enter an area, maybe you get a list of the potential encounters, or at least maybe potential encounters that fills in as you go through. Like, you see a maximum of 7 encounters here, or at least 7 new viruses, and you can just run into them over and over again, and as you do, you fill them out. And within that bestiary as well is a similar list of what they can drop, so you'll see, like, this virus has these 3 mystery battleships, and when you get one, it fills that in, as well as all the codes you can get it in case you wanted to, like, get specific types. I feel that would especially help people who are really good at building decks or folders, because then they just have all the stuff in front of them that they need to figure out what they might want to build with. Because that could be like, okay, this code, and this code are available for these ships, so if I build a folder that way, I could easily just completely break the game. Of course, they'd have to do some balancing with it, but I feel that would be a really good way to make these games more approachable in a modern era. Although then you also reach the question of what are they going to do when they eventually do a legacy collection for these games. Because yeah, you can play them on Virtual Console and Wii U, at least for right now. The funds, you'll no longer be able to add funds to that starting in January 2022 from a credit card, so God knows how long you'll be able to get the Virtual Console versions of these, which are the best way to play them, barring Operate Star Force, of course. I'm very curious what they're going to do for Legacy Collections, because it's not like the X Legacy Collections where there's an even split point in the middle you can just break it down in, or the Zero ZX Collections where there's just 5 straightforward games. We have 6 main titles, yes, but 4 of those have 2 different versions. You have Network Transmission and, I guess, Battleship Challenge, and I doubt they put 4.5 in there, but I guess you could somehow, theoretically. So how would they even begin splitting that up? 1 and 2 are obvious. I guess you could do maybe 3 and 4. Or like 3 and maybe Battleship Challenge in part 1, but that would just be weird. But then you would also have 4 through 6 in part 2, which would be 2, 4, 6 games versus the other ones 4 at minimum, 5 at most, unless they put Network Transmission in there, and that'd just be a weird split up. There's no real easy way to split the Battle Network games up, and God, if they wanted to do Star Force in there too, that brings the total of games up to 6 in the back half, 2 more on top of that for 8, another 2 for 10, Battleship Challenge, Network Transmission make 12, 3 versions of Battle Network of Star Force 1 make 15, 2 of the next 2 makes 19, and then maybe 4.5, so 19 and a half games to split up? That's rough. At the minimum, because they also could potentially include, I don't know, like, the goddamn plug-and-play thing they did for Star Force somehow? I don't know. Either way, we got another new virus here. This is the Canodum 3, 100 damage, 100 HP. It's pretty straightforward. It's a Canodum that does more damage and shit. For beating them, you can get the M-Cannon is the name of that ship line, which is powerful, but it doesn't really code well with a lot of the things I like to use in the game. I think it's only like K, O, and M codes that can be dropped, and I think there's like 2 others you can get through like the chip traders and shit. It's good, but only in later games where I feel they code better with things. Now, we're already getting close to the end of the power plant computer, and one thing I really don't like about the early Battle Networks, I think 6 is the only one that actively fixed this until the Star Force games. In a lot of cases, it's obvious when you're about to get to a boss fight because of just the level design, but 6, in the Star Force games actively mark it with a panel from memory, and I appreciate that. Lan, the door to the power room should now be open. Quick, go get that generator running. Okay. And now for a random section where we actually get to play as Lan. It makes sense because they're trying to put us in the right place for story stuff, but it always feels a little out of place when they do it like this. Also, make sure I think you save right here, because once you enter here, it is cutscene. Huh? The lights are on in this room. Interesting. The generator is working? Then why is the power out? Megaman, check out the power generator area again. Roger. Well, that's certainly bizarre. I hope everything's okay. Who are you? An official? You did good coming this far, but you're too late. I just finished downloading the Elect program. Elect program? You're not an official Navi come to protect it? No matter. All who stand in my way get zapped. I love Elecman's design. With that said, don't worry too much about this fight, because whenever you attack him, he heals. It's a cutscene fight. I think you just have to either do a certain amount of damage to him, take a certain amount of damage, or even get a game over. It's a forced loss. The series does this in a couple of cases, and this is probably the best handling of it because he at least heals. But I never like it when games of this type do something like this. I would rather they just make it a cutscene itself or something else. My attacks aren't working. Electricity's my power. As long as there's power generated, I can't be stopped. What? Zap. Ah! Megaman! Oh no, what can I do? I mean, there's always the nuclear option. Okay, let's stop that generator. That'll keep Elecman from healing. This isn't gonna be easy, but here goes. Stay down! What? What have you done to the generator? Megaman, quick! Let's get him while we can. Leave it to me. Alright, now we actually get to fight Elecman, and now he will no longer heal. Which, you know, annoying in that regard that he did that. Elecman, notably, is always floating. And because of that, he technically has a status known as float shoes, where I believe if you try to destroy a panel, he'll just float on top of it. At least I think he can do that in this game. I might be thinking of one of his appearances in one of the later games. He can summon a Thunderbolt that'll just go across the row from him, so make sure you're not on the same row as that. He can charge up and place these, I guess, Tesla coils, which will generate electricity directly between them. And there's a couple of different layouts of these things. I believe this incarnation of him has the ability where he can just make a bunch of panels flash in a row and they'll be sequentially hit by thunder as need be. He's a relatively fun and easy boss, partially just because he leaves himself so open when he's attacking. If he was a bit more agile, this would probably be a bit more annoying, but you don't have to worry about too much with him, honestly, even here. Also, that technically shouldn't have hit him. In some games, the moment a boss starts moving, they're just not able to be hit. I think that was especially BN4 from memory. But still, that's the end of Elecman. This can't be happening. But I've already sent the program to Count Zap. Now we have all the programs. You're finished. Darn, too late. It took too long to break the jack in protection. Protoman? Not a shred of data left either. I was just about to get the World 3 server location out of Elecman's memory data. If you amateurs hadn't gotten in the way, our plan to lure in the World 3 with fake data would have succeeded. Fake data? Then this was all... Protoman, delete that, Navi. They've caused us enough trouble. As you wish, John. This isn't the time. We have to get the power back up. Silence. Prepare for deletion. It wouldn't be a Mega Man game if you didn't fight Protoman once, right? I mean, it's the former brother rivalry turned rivalry. Protoman's a bit of an odd boss. He can move all over the place, but he tends to stick in the back row. Whenever you try to shoot him, he'll bring up a shield. The way to fight him is counterattacks. He'll teleport in front of you and do any number of sword attacks, wide swords, long swords. I think he has a fighter sword. And I think at least, I forget if it's this game he can do it or if it starts in the later ones. He can also teleport behind you to do a slash. That's the shield there. That just blocks any damage outright. You can trap him by using things like Fire Tower, and he can't exactly block Navi chips because they freeze time. But if you're not careful, he can mess you up. Watch out, especially for when he charges, because that means he's about to do, I think, like 2 or 3 wide swords in a row. If you're quick on the draw, it's a very fun fight. But if you can't realize the fact that you need to counterattack him too quickly, he can cause some problems. How can this be? A civilian Navi beat an official? Never. Don't you get it? 'Cause you're an official Navi, you can carry your own battleships, so you can fight alone. That's right, and I fought alone every time. And I've never lost, not once. 'Cause I'm a civilian Navi, I can't fight alone. That's why I've got Lan backing me up. We've come this far together, because we fight as a team. The better friends you are with your operator, the better you fight. Friends. Protoman, don't listen to their nonsense. Jack out now. Wait, please, Chad. You're Megaman, right? Just tell me one thing. How do you see your operator, this Lan? Who is he to you? Why, he's my best friend. Friend, huh? I never thought of that. Let's go, Protoman. Jack out. Lan, we have to jack out too and get that power plant going. Okay. Ah, right on. That should fix the power outage. Lan, back to the restaurant. Your mom's worried sick. You're right. Also, let's not mention the fact that we nearly electrocuted ourselves to do this. She would probably have a heart attack. So you're the one who saved us. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that's all over. I managed to stay calm the whole time. Mostly. So we're safe now? Yeah. Well, that was over fast. You sure it wasn't just a show? It sort of was. Oh, thank goodness we're safe. No comments about my mom this time, huh? The lights, they're back, thank goodness. Wow, wish I hadn't come now. Total bummer. Yeah, you ended up in here completely by chance. That's unfortunate. Lan, where were you? I was so worried. Sorry, Mom, but we're fine, see? Lan, you've got mail. It's from Dad. That was a long power outage. Is everyone okay? That's my dad as clueless as ever. Dear Dad, don't worry, Megaman's looking after me. Oh well, I guess the party's over. Shall we go home? Lan, do you want to stop for something to eat on the way? Yeah, now that you mention it, I haven't eaten since lunch. I'm starving. I guess you need to recharge too. Ah! Oh, the Elect program is mine at last. Good work, Count Zap. Now we can finally proceed to the next step. You think I don't know that? Don't rush me, Yahoot. I can't stop laughing. Congratulations, Lord Wily. But actually, I have a small favor to ask. What is it? Well, during my last battle, Elecman was deleted by that meddlesome Navi. Perhaps as a reward for my planned success, you could repair Elecman? Hey, that's not fair. Lord Wily, I worked hard to gather the programs too. Please repair my Color Man too. That's Navi. If you let him beat you, blame your own operating. You can pay for your own mistakes. I'll be focusing on my plan. If you want them repaired, then you can do it yourselves. What? That's... this is all the fault of that Navi. Megaman or whatever, I can't stand it. I've had enough of this.
It's about time we get our sweet, sweet revenge. You know, Zap, that land kid has a cute girlfriend. So what if we kidnap her and her nabby and... That'll draw them out. Yes, that's a great idea. Now, people familiar with the GBA version don't recognize part of that scene. There's a reason for that. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 16, the reason Operate Star Force is called Operate Star Force. See you guys then.